Welcome to the Integrated Resources Informational Interview Program about jobs. Today we are talking with Alesh Polivka, who is a champion swimmer. He ranked first place, and he's an accomplished swim coach now. We have a lot of people on the line, and we welcome your questions. If you have a question, you can raise an electronic hand. You could type questions in the chat, or you can even ask questions verbally between the questions, just by saying, "Excuse me, I have a question," and that'll work out really well. This session is being recorded, so for the sake of audio quality, could everybody please mute your audio right now? That would be great, because we don't want any dogs barking, babies crying, and all that kind of thing getting in the way. And so I'd like to introduce Alesh Polivka, who is a coach at Irvine Nova Aquatics. And that's all I'm going to say, because he has a lot to say to us. So let's start in with that. Alesh, do you want to wave at everybody so they can see which person you are on the call? Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Gallery view, you can see him there. All right, let's start by asking you what a swim coach does.
Yeah, so as a swim coach, you're responsible for your group of swimmers. What we do is we write a workout for them every day. We go to practice with them. We give them our workout, explain what we expect from them. And then as they're swimming our workout, we watch them swim. We critique any flaws they might have in their stroke. We give them advice for anything that can make them faster. And then we take our swimmers to swim meets where we watch them race, and same thing, we analyze their swimming and give them any advice on what can make them faster.
Awesome. This is a lot about observation then. So what about being a swim coach first drew your attention, as you were already a champion swimmer? What interested you in being a coach?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I was a swimmer. I've been swimming with Irvine Nova Aquatics, we call it Nova for short. I was swimming with them since I was 11, so I've been a part of this team pretty much throughout my whole childhood. And swimming for me personally, it helped me overcome my asthma. It was the source of many of my closest friends, and I really grew so much as a person thanks to swim, and I owe all of that to my coaches. So I knew that once I finished being a swimmer, once I completed my swimming career, I wanted to give back to swimmers the same way that my coaches gave to me.
So I'm so curious, when you said it helped you overcome your asthma, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as a kid, I had really, really bad asthma. I was in the hospital a few times. I had to have like the machine, the nebulizer, I think it's called. And it was really bad. I had the inhaler all the time. But with swimming over time, I started just sort of, going in the pool recreationally, not really pushing myself too much, just, getting some exercise in. But then the more I swam and the more I kept working at it, my asthma sort of got lower and lower to the point I didn't have to use my inhalers anymore. Now I don't even feel like I haven't had an asthma attack in maybe like 5, 6, 7 years. So it's really gotten lower and lower to the point where I don't even notice it anymore.
That's fantastic. And so you really developed a love for swimming. I have a poll. I would like to ask this question of everybody who is participating. Can you see the poll? I hope you can. So just click on the answer you like. Okay, has everybody voted? Oh, we've still got a couple more people who are voting. Well, I'll just tell you the responses are coming in, and it's very interesting. It looks like a lot of people here, not surprisingly, but a lot of people can't wait to get back in the water. Really? Okay, so. And we can share the results.
I did that. I was able to share it.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry, sorry. Okay. Okay. So then we'll stop that and we'll end that. Okay. Terrific. Thank you. All right. So Alesh, How did you first get started in coaching after being that champion swimmer? How did that transition happen?
Yeah, so throughout my high school career, when I was in high school, I worked as a lifeguard at the pool. So I was at the pool swimming and I was also a lifeguard. So I was spending a lot of time at the pool. Once I finished high school, that's where sort of my swimming career ended. I stopped swimming once I got to college, but I was still working as a lifeguard at the same pool. And I was at the pool all the time. And one of my old coaches who coached me when I was a swimmer, he reached out to me saying that they were looking for coaches. He knew that, I've been a part of the team like my whole life. So he knew that I kind of knew the ropes already. And he asked if I wanted to interview as a coach for their team. So I was very excited about the opportunity and I interviewed and got the job.
Very nice. So what are the most important skills that you realize that a coach needs to develop?
So observation is one. You have to be able to see little flaws in the swimmer's strokes in the water, which sort of takes some practice. You have to have an understanding of how to swim efficiently, but also really good communication. Especially for me, I coach kids that are between the ages of 5 to 8 years old. So I can't really use big, complex words that my coaches would use with me in high school. I have to sort of use really small words, simple words that they can understand. And there's a lot of mechanics in swimming, but you have to sort of translate it into a language that kids can understand. So I would say communication and observation are very important skills.
Absolutely. I tend to think of swim coaches as coaching teenagers and older. We will be asking you more questions about children. That sounds like so much fun. Did you have to get certified to be a swim coach?
Yes, depending on whether you'll be coaching little kids or adults or college students or high school students, the certifications vary. But for me personally, I had to do some online courses and online modules, but it really only took me about 3 to 4 hours. So it wasn't anything super intense.
Okay. So who or what influenced you or has been a good role model for you to work towards being a swim coach?
Yeah, so pretty much all of my past coaches have helped me become where I am today throughout all my stages of development since I was 11 years old, being like a preteen, a teenager, and then a high school student. All of my coaches helped me grow. So really all of them were really influential role models for me, inspiring me to want to become a coach.
So what activity or person has helped you the most?
Yeah, so the coach that reached out to me that offered the job, I was in his group the longest. I was with him for about 3 years, and that's where I feel like I grew the most. I was there when I was maybe 13 years old to 16. So that was like a big chunk of my teenage life that I spent with him, and he was really inspirational. He always knew how to get us motivated, and when he reached out to me and offered the position, I was really excited. So I would have to thank him. His name is Alex Nieto. He's the Northwood High School coach and a coach at Nova.
All right. So now let's get down to some questions about the specifics to the job. Do you coach individuals or teams? And what is a team culture like?
Yeah, so swimming is technically an individual sport. When you're at a meet, you're the only one that's swimming, unless it's a relay, but those rarely happen at my level. So when you're swimming a meet, you're on your own. You're swimming your race. It's not like soccer or basketball where you have teammates to pass the ball to. It's all you. So in that sense, we coach them individually. However, everybody trains together at practice. When it comes to meets, everybody cheers each other on. You're always there supporting your teammates. Even though you're not swimming with them, you're always there supporting them. So we technically coach them as individuals because we give them individual advice. We sort of tailor our general practices individually. We tell individual swimmers what to work on, but altogether we train as a team. So we're coaching individuals together as a team.
Does coaching require any special equipment or tools?
You need a pool and you need sunscreen for sure. And a stopwatch is also very important. Most competitive pools will have a clock that you can look at that has like a seconds timer, but we always need stopwatches for getting times. Aside from that, coaches don't really need much equipment. The swimmers train, goggles, cap. We also have kickboards, fins, paddles, and all kinds of other equipment that we we implement into our workout, but that's more equipment that the swimmers use as opposed to us as coaches.
How much of your job is training the swimmers to do new and better techniques?
Yeah, so for me specifically, since I coach kids 5 to 8, our requirement to join our group is you have to swim 1 lap of every stroke. So these aren't kids that have never been in the water. They already know how to swim. They just don't know how to swim efficiently. So a lot of my job is bettering their technique, finding ways to improve, make it more efficient so that they're not just throwing their arms around, that they actually are conscious of moving their arms, moving their legs, rotating their body. But we don't really teach new techniques because they already have to know how to swim all 4 strokes. We just have to improve them. So my job is a lot of bettering their techniques. Got
it. Now, holding your breath underwater for a really long time is an important part of swimming. How do you teach that?
It's mostly mental. I feel like a lot of kids are scared. They say, no, I can't hold my breath that long. I can't hold my breath that long. And we just sort of have to go piece by piece, say, okay, now hold your breath for 2 strokes. Okay, now hold your breath for 3 strokes. Now hold it for 4 strokes. And then we just sort of work up in a gradual manner and sort of get them less afraid of holding their breath. Or sometimes we'll do little like breath holding competitions, like who can hold their breath the longest, just to get them comfortable with staying underwater, holding their breath underwater.
Do you get in the water with them?
I do not, no. I wish I did on the hot days, but we have to stay outside.
All right. Well, we've got another poll for our folks here. So let's see. I'm going to go up to this. All right. Can you see the poll? Which is your favorite swim style? Check in as many as you like.
Haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, sorry. There it is. Okay, looks like everybody who wants to vote has voted. And I'm going to end the polling, share results. And this is what you can see. A lot of people like creative swimming, freestyle. Totally makes sense to me. Okay. Right. And then, oh, this is a good question from Marcy. Have you saved someone from drowning?
That's a good question. No, I have not. Fortunately, the pool where I work at, it's all swimmers that know how to swim. So usually we don't have new kids in the water. I have never saved anyone from drowning. I know a few of my colleagues have. When we have lap swimmers, some older gentleman had a heart attack when he was swimming. So one of my colleagues jumped in and had to rescue him. But for me personally, I've been fortunate that I've never had to save anyone from drowning.
Yeah, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your favorite part of interacting with the swimmers? Or, do you just sort of like let them go?
I personally love their energy. They have so much enthusiasm, even if it's not always about swimming, but they're always energetic, lively. It's especially because I coach little kids. So they're always jumpy, bubbly, always have lots of energy. I love joking around with them and having like that fun atmosphere, because we're there to train and get better, but we're also there to have fun, which I really enjoy. That's probably my favorite part, is feeding off their energy.
Yeah. Now, you and I had talked about the competitive nature of some of the children. So I was asking if do you coach competitive swimmers? Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Yeah, so our kids right now aren't going to national competitions and things like that. They're still learning the ropes, but all of our kids have that mindset that they want to be at that level. They know that they want to continue swimming, they want to move on, and then they do want to compete at, bigger and bigger meets once they get older. So while we're not training them, for national competitions right now, we're sort of setting a foundation for them, giving them really good habits and techniques right now, so that when they get older, they are able to compete. Some of the kids already have that sort of competitive fire in their eyes. You can see even at practice, they'll start racing the kids next to them. They'll go all out even when we tell them like, hey, this is okay, you can take this lap easy, just rest, but they'll sprint it anyway because they have that competitive nature. So in a sense, we're coaching like pre-competitive swimmers, because though they're not really competing right now, that's where they're going to be in the future.
Nice. And we have a question from Diana. Have you, whoops, wait a minute, okay, here we go. Have you or a family member worked as a coach for people with disabilities at Special Olympics?
I haven't worked as a coach there, but when I was in high school, when I was a swimmer, I volunteered at the Special Olympics. So I helped sort of take swimmers to their lanes and clean up and set up and things like that. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that event. It was a lot of fun.
And then we have a couple more questions. Charmaine asked, what advice would you give someone who has a fear of drowning but wants to learn how to swim?
Yeah, so that's really common. The fear of the water is really, really common. The way we sort of teach it or taught it was we would take swimmers into very shallow water where they could touch the bottom first. First, we just get them comfortable in the water, getting their whole body wet. And then once they're comfortable just sitting in the water, we dip their head underwater, blow bubbles, things like that, and just slowly get them more and more comfortable in the water, get like more and more of the body underwater, staying underwater for longer. And then once they're comfortable, like going underwater, holding their breath, that's when we would start teaching them how to swim or float or different techniques.
And then we had one more question from Rebecca. Have you experienced water polo?
I never played it like as a sport because I was so focused on just swimming. So my practices were just swim, 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 swim. But when we had like a fun day here and there, we would just play water polo for fun, but I never trained it. But water polo it's a lot of fun. I'd say it's, in a sense, it's more like fun than swimming, because you know, you can like play around with the ball, like talk with your teammates while you're playing. But for me, swimming was my passion, that was my calling. So that's what I spent most of my time doing.
I had a question. What is, if you're going to get to this, Wednesday, but what is your favorite style? Do you have like a specific style that you choose to swim?
Yeah, personally, my favorite is breaststroke. I just like the relaxed nature of it. You can take your time, you can glide. However, when I was a swimmer, my best stroke was distance freestyle. So I was swimming like the 500, the 1,000, and the mile, which wasn't as much fun as breaststroke, but that's what I was best at. So that's what I had to do.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I had another question. What's the hardest one to learn? Like, what's the hardest technique that you notice is hard to learn?
I think butterfly is, not only is it hard to get your arms out of the water every time, but you have to, it's a lot of coordination with like your dolphin kicks where you have to move your whole body and get your arms together at the same time. So it's hard for me to demonstrate while I'm sitting down, but it's a lot of work, and kids sort of have trouble like wrapping their head around exactly when they're supposed to kick and the timing of how to get their arms and then kick, get their arms and then kick. And on top of that, I feel like it's the most physically difficult because you have to throw your arms out of the water each time. So butterfly definitely is the least favorite for many kids.
All right. Any other questions from anybody else participating? No, I'm looking at you, Ashley. If you have a question or a comment, chime in.
I have another question. I'm so intrigued by this. My son, my 3-year-old, and actually my 8-month-old are taking swim lessons at this moment in time. But I have friends that are swimmers, and whenever we were in the pool, I'm competitive, so I'll swim laps, and I'm like, they're like a million times faster than me. And is there like a specific thing that what creates speed in the water? Like, what is the biggest challenge for people that limits their ability to be fast? Because I want to beat them.
There's a lot of different things, and it also depends on what stroke you're doing. The most important thing is finding the most efficient way to pull the water. So there's a really like kind of misconception that when you like cup your hand like this, that's what's gonna pull the most. But really, you're supposed to keep your fingers kind of separated, because it creates like kind of like an invisible like web as you're pulling the water, and you have to really engage all of your muscles in order to use that. So that's for freestyle and backstroke mostly. You kind of keep your hand or your fingers a little bit separated. So that's like one little trick. But I'd say honestly, the biggest thing is just consistently training. You just have to keep swimming every day, every day, every day. That's what's going to get you like to increase your speed, because there's like a saying that one day like out of the water is equal to 2 days in the water. So when you miss one day of practice, you have to do 2 days to catch back up to where your speed was. So it's just a lot of consistency. That's the biggest factor, is just training, like back to back to back to back, not stopping as much as you can.
Thank you.
Right. So do the boys and girls train together?
Yes, yeah. They swim at meets. They're separated by gender at meets, but when it comes to training, we all swim together, train together.
All right. Now, how do you motivate swimmers, especially at that age?
Yeah, so some kids don't want to be there. Some kids are just forced by their parents to be there, especially at this age. But some kids really have that like internal drive and motivation. So some kids you don't have to talk to at all. They're doing their work. They're on their own, independent. They're working hard as they can. And then other kids, they might not want to be there, or they feel lazy. So our job is to remind them that as their coach, we are there to help them get faster, because even if they don't like practicing, most kids like going to the races. They like competing with each other, and they like being, winning first place, things like that. So we always have to remind them that, hey, everything we're telling you at practice, all these sets we're giving you, all these this advice that we're giving you about your stroke, it's all to make you faster, to make you more efficient. And usually when we sort of sit them down and explain, hey, we're here to help you, everything we're telling you is going to make you faster at the meets, it's going to get you that first place, then they're like, okay. And they listen to us, and they get more motivated that way.
So that age group is notoriously, shall we say, stubborn at times?
Yes.
How do you coax the stubborn nature out of them so that they can develop?
Yeah, so sometimes it's just, forcing them, keep at it, just keep working towards it. Sometimes often we'll implement like some kind of fun thing at the end of practice, just to make it known, hey, we're not just here to train, we're not like super serious competitive athletes, we're also here to have fun. So when they look forward to that fun activity at the end of practice, then usually we'll say, hey, if you swim really fast on this, we'll have like a fun kick set at the end, or we'll do like a game at the end. So we sort of like a reward system. If we know that they're trying their best, then they get a reward, and that they get to have some kind of fun set sometimes.
Can you explain what a kick set is?
Yeah, so there's different types. We can either kick with the kickboard, or we can kick with like just holding streamline, keep your head underwater, and then do breaststroke kick, dolphin kick, freestyle kick. Usually the fun one will be, we'll let them have their kickboards, so they get to float at the top of the water. They can choose whatever kick they want to do, and they can talk with their friends while they're kicking. We call that social kick. That's like one of our fun activities.
Because social activity is super important for every age. Now, before an athletic event, a lot of people have Michael Phelps was famous for carbo loading.
Yeah.
Is there any carbo loading that's encouraged for these kids, or these special meals that they're encouraged to eat before?
Yeah, so we, as a swimmer, I would always eat a ton of pasta the day before and the day of. That's just kind of the standard. I feel like all swimmers are just going to carbo load the night before. We don't really like press it on the kids, like, hey, you have to eat pasta the night before. We just say, hey, make sure you eat a good meal tonight, make sure you have some carbs tomorrow morning, make sure you eat a good breakfast before the meet. So while we encourage carbo load, but that's more for like the higher levels. Once you get a little bit older, that's more common. For the little kids, we just make sure that they eat something.
Eat something, yeah. And what about a good luck ritual?
Yeah. For me personally, I would always take 3 deep breaths before my race. I would kind of consider it a ritual. It also sort of helped me like calm down and center me, not let my adrenaline get too crazy right before the race. But with our little kids, we have like our Nova cheer, which we do at the end of every practice, where we'll pick one swimmer. That swimmer will say, hey, 1, 2, 3. And then everybody else will yell like Nova. And then we'll do that at the end of every practice. And then we do that at our meets too, which sort of creates like that team atmosphere. Like, hey, we're all in this together. We can do it together.
That's really, really great. Um, Now, hold on a second. I've got to, there it is. Okay. So what is your swim coaching philosophy?
Yeah, so I try to be more of like the fun, laid back coach. I when I need to get serious, I will. When I'm explaining things to kids, I will. But during like that downtime when we're walking swimmers to the pool and from the pool, I like joking around, like having fun with the kids, asking them kind of silly questions and sort of messing around. I know other coaches tend to be stricter, especially for younger kids, because kids can get out of hand. So some coaches will take the strict approach. I sort of I like being like the more laid back and relaxed coach.
Nice. I want to revisit the food because I have a poll for you. And we want to go for, let's see, here we go. So for you who are here, what do you eat before you swim? All right. Look at that. We have carbs and healthy sugars. Nice. Very healthy, healthy group here. That's awesome. All right. Sorry, I got a little out of order there. So going back to your coaching philosophy of a relaxed style, how does your style differ or similar or fit in with the other coaches that you work with?
Yeah. So with our group, we have four coaches. Two of us are kind of more laid back and relaxed, and the other two are a little bit stricter and more rigid, which I feel like is a healthy balance, because if you're too relaxed and you just kind of let the kids do whatever they want, then if you're too relaxed, they might not listen to you. Whereas if you're too strict, then they'll get scared and they don't have any fun. So you kind of have to have that balance between keeping them on task, keeping them doing what they're supposed to be doing, but also letting them breathe a little bit, have some fun too, because we're not just there to drill them in swimming, but we're also there to give them a good time.
Yeah, they got to have a good time at that age. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you like most about coaching?
The list could go on and on, but my favorite part is just interacting with the swimmers. I love feeding off their energy, and I love it when we call them the aha moments between us coaches, is when a swimmer will be working towards something or we'll be explaining something to a swimmer and it'll take us time. We'll keep repeating the same thing over and over again. The swimmer might understand what we're saying and trying to fix it, or maybe they don't understand what we're saying at all. But when it finally clicks, what we've been telling them to do, and then the swimmer realizes it, we realize it, and then they have like this really good energy. They're really excited because all of a sudden, whoa, I'm swimming so much faster. It's so much easier. And we can tell, they can tell, and it's what we're working towards.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding.
Nice, nice. So if you could change one thing about being a swim coach, what would it be? Or maybe nothing. Maybe you love it all. I don't know.
There's a lot of good things. The one thing that it's not really something about coaching specifically, but it's more about swimming, is that when swimmers are swimming, especially during workouts, they're on their own. You can't really talk to them until they reach the wall. You don't get to interact with them as much as I would say other sports. You know, like when kids are playing soccer, they can talk while they're playing, or basketball. But during swimming, your face is in the water. You can't socialize with your friends. You're you're kind of on your own. So if I could change one thing about swimming, I'd wish there was more like some way to make it so that we have more interaction with the swimmers, especially while they're swimming, because that's my personal favorite part of coaching, is interacting with them, joking around with them, and talking with them.
Yes, absolutely. So how has the coronavirus pandemic impacted your coaching and swimming? Because it sounds like so social. How does that?
Yeah, so when the pandemic first started, everything shut down. Our pool shut down too, because nothing was known about the virus. Everybody was really scared. So we switched to Zoom meetings. we couldn't swim in Zoom meetings, but we would do exercises, what we call dryland exercise, which is just normal exercises. We would do jumping jacks, sit-ups, push-ups. We would do stretches with the kids. So for half an hour each day, we would do exercises for about 20 minutes. And then for 10 minutes, we would play games with them. We would either draw pictures or send them on scavenger hunts around their house, things like that, to sort of keep like our team atmosphere there, to keep us all connected, even though we couldn't be swimming. And then once sort of the restrictions loosened a little bit, the pools opened up again, and now we're back in the pool, but we're not back to our original way. We have to, like, our groups we got spread out into more groups, and we have to keep our distance across the pool. We can only have 3 kids in each lane, whereas before we could have as many as we needed to. So it's a lot more distant. We have to sort of space out a lot more. There are a lot more regulations coming into the pool, coming out of the pool. We have to keep everybody distant. The kids, unfortunately, can't socialize as much because they can't, get together in groups. They have to keep their distance. So in a sense, we're still able to swim now. We're back in the water. We're training normally, but that social factor, that social part is still a little bit less than it used to be because we can't all get close together.
Are the kids adapting to that kind of behavior pretty well?
I feel like some kids are. Some of the kids that don't really listen very well keep forgetting, and we have to keep reminding them. But most of the kids have adapted pretty well, I would say. They've kind of gotten used to it. Even if they don't like it as much, they've gotten used to the new regulations that we have to follow.
Right. Interesting. So what do you see as the future of the coaching industry in general?
Yeah, I mean, people love sports. I think sports aren't going anywhere for a long time. So there's definitely a lot of quote unquote job security in coaching because especially swimming is growing, surprisingly. A lot of sports are growing. So I feel like coaching is a very safe job to have because you're always going to have athletes. You're always going to have kids that want to swim, kids that want to play sports. And as long as you are passionate about it, I feel like it's a really good career to have.
Interesting. Do you see yourself as a professional coach after college?
I actually want to go into medicine. So I plan on applying to med school. So I don't know if I'd be able to juggle medicine and coaching. I kind of doubt that, but I definitely want to coach as long as I can until I reach that point where I no longer am able to coach. I want to keep coaching as much as I can because I love the job so much.
That's really wonderful. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation, and the things that you've all added have been so helpful, and they've contributed to the depth and the breadth of the conversation. Do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask before we sign off?
We have a question from Lisa. She asks, she's asking, do you work full-time or part-time as a coach?
I technically work part-time. Right now I work 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday. So I'm employed as a part-time coach.
Can I say something?
Yes.
There she is.
Wendy, I've been holding off. Rochelle. Rochelle Lind has helped me get into the St. Clemente Sports Park. And I've been swimming since I was 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I've been swimming on Special Olympics. So I've been swimming a lot. And my favorite stroke is doing the 100 IM. And the breaststroke is my favorite. And the butterfly is my favorite. But I've done a 50s freestyle and a 50s butterfly. And I was an athlete for Dade County and then for Broward County. And I like to swim. And it's good exercise. And I'm very good in the water. I look very good in the water because a lot of people have taught me.
Yeah.
So
can I jump in? Can I tell them a little bit about you, Ashley?
Sure, Risha.
So it's so ironic how the world turns because my whole family, my children and my husband are swimmers. They've been swimmers since way back. And then we got Ashley And I watched her swim one day when her facility was doing a mini triathlon. And she jumped in this tiny little, I don't know, maybe
It's not a big enough pool.
Yeah, maybe 10 foot by 10 feet pool. And she was doing these amazing strokes in that little pool. So I got on the horn and started looking for a place to take her swimming. And to see her do those strokes in that water, the pool set up about 25 yards. So she just goes at it for like an hour, and every stroke is just so beautiful. And I was so proud of her.
I miss doing relays.
Yeah, she's an amazing swimmer. So it was so cool to just have another swimmer around.
I'm like a torpedo in the pool because I'm so fast.
Yeah.
And I can swim underwater, and I'm very good.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of kickboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting thing, the relays. Alesh, can you tell us how relays have changed since the coronavirus?
Yeah, so typically the relays will always be 4 swimmers. Up until now, it's always been, 4 men going against all men relays, and then 4 women going against all women relays. But they're starting to implement, I believe it'll be at the next Olympics, where they'll have 2 men and 2 women on the same relay team. And it's up to the team to decide which strokes each swimmer will do. So like the girls could do IM and breaststroke and butterfly, and then the guys could do freestyle and backstroke. But it's going to be really interesting to watch. I feel like it's going to build a lot of community amongst the teams, because
butterfly was my hard stroke, but I don't like to do backstroke because I bump my head and I'm scared to bump my head. So fly, back, fly, and breaststroke and freestyle are my favorite.
Hurts to bump your noggin.
It does.
Yeah, you don't want to hit your noggin. How do you keep from hitting your noggin when you're doing the backstroke, Alesh?
Yeah, so we have flags across the pool. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, at the pools, they'll always have flags that go all the way across the pool. And those flags are a certain distance from the wall. And each swimmer will be responsible for knowing what we call their stroke count, which means it'll take them however many strokes to get from the flags to the wall. So they know, like for me personally, it was 3 strokes. So once I hit the flags, or once I saw the flags when I was swimming backstroke, I knew, okay, 1, 2, 3, I'm at the wall. So you have to memorize that number, and then from then on, that number is what how you know that you're getting close to the wall.
I didn't catch his background. I have a quick question, if that's okay. Your background. So I know you swim over at the Natadores, and my daughter swims there. But have you ever done the diving there? Those diving boards were.
I swam at Nova in Irvine.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nova. Yeah. So she just left Nova. I'm sorry, but have you ever done the diving though? Have you ever?
No, we've gone off the diving boards just for fun, just like jumping off, but I've never actually done like.
University of Miami had a diving well, and they had diving boards, but the diving well was so deep.
Yeah.
I'm done. What is your name?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Alesh.
Okay, so if you're putting the lane ropes, not the 100 yards where you swim all the way down to the other pool, I don't know. I mean, when you're putting the lane ropes shorter, but where the lane ropes are all the way down to the other side of the pool, like long distance.
Long course?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I've never heard about that because I've only done the short course.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Marisha, did you have anything else? Because you looked like you were confused. Nope. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I did have a question. I remember you shared early on that if you wanted to be a swim instructor, you had to take some classes online. Where would we be able to find those classes? Is there like a specific certification in case somebody that we support is interested in being a swim instructor?
Yeah, so it depends if you want to be a swim instructor or a swim coach. for swim instructors, swim instructor means you're teaching like kids who have no idea how to swim. These are kids that could be scared of the water. They might have some background, but that means that you're basically teaching them expecting that they know nothing. I had to do an in-person class for that. I worked as a swim instructor before I was a swim coach, but for the swim coaching, you can go on the USA Swimming website and they have a list of certifications that you have to complete, and all of them are online, except for I think the CPR one, but since I was a lifeguard, I already had my CPR certification from before. So aside from the CPR class, everything is online and it's all on the USA Swimming website.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I think that might be all that we have today. Unless there's anything else. Okay, well, I guess we will.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Alesh, for sharing your day and your time and your mind with us. It was delightful to meet you, and tell Beata we all say hello.
Yeah, is there a way you could just share? Beata is your mom, correct? And she works for IRI. Yeah. So it's a great small world.
She volunteered him.
Great. Nice to meet you. Great job today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
You're very well spoken.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
let's
thank you, Alesh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Rochelle.
I was just saying thank you. And I love the interaction. I love the questions. That was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, Rochelle. Hi, Janet.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Long time no see.
You're swimming.
Yes. And we
Thank
will
you.
be
Have a great day.
So,
Okay. Take care. Good to see everyone. Thanks again.
bye.
Great job, Wendy.
Yeah, thank
Thanks.
you, Wendy.